During real spacewalks, we actually use tethers to keep ourselves attached to the vehicle. In a reactive game, that would be too clumsy, and so mag boots is a creative way to kind of compromise and keep it realistic, but also be able to be reactive. But the fear is the same, becoming detached somehow and drifting away. And that's just one example. Even firearms would behave differently in space. Recoil and ballistics would also be different. People think about space as silent, but silence can mean danger. For example, inside of the spacesuit, there's a steady hum of the fan that's blowing oxygen over your face. The people at Owlcat Games did some research and figured out that vibrations caused by shots inside of a vehicle would translate to the hull and likely be felt through the mag boots.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Hobby Guard. Have you ever wondered, I know in fact you have wondered, about the reason why I say ad astra when I finish recording my videos, and that is mainly because I have always been a fan of sci-fi, but more like soft, more fantastical sci-fi, like Star Wars, ever since I was a kid. But when it was the year, I believe 2019 perhaps, I came across this show called The Expanse. It is a show based off of a series of books. That show spiraled me into learning more about more grounded sci-fi, more realistic sci-fi. And that opened my eyes to all sorts of new literature, all sorts of new interests. I became completely possessed by this idea of humanity conquering the stars. Not only, and this is an important part, beyond our solar system, but I also became enamored with the idea of exploring our own solar system and how incredible and fantastical it can become, because a lot of sci-fi just takes place outside of the solar system. The Expanse is an entire show that takes, for the most part, place in the solar system. And you might have heard that a little game company called Owlcat Games, these game developers, are working on a new RPG based off The Expanse, called The Expanse Osiris Reborn, I think. And in today's video, I am gonna tell you why, first of all, I think this game has the potential to become one of the most amazing games of all time, sort of the Baldur's Gate 3 of sci-fi games, and why I think that Owlcat Games is just the right company to bring it to life. So without further ado, welcome to the Hobby Guard, and let's jump into it.
We love the idea, but have to adapt it. Pure realism would mean almost no sound in combat. No vacuum, you hear more than Austiners do, but far less than in atmosphere. What you hear is what your character feels. Breath, calms, vibrations. The tension stays, and so does the fear.
Okay, let me stop it right there, because I just wanna talk about this real quick. First of all, why The Expanse was such a cool show for me. Because sometimes limitations, or oftentimes actually, limitations are what bolsters creativity, right? So The Expanse is a show, yes, takes place in the future. Humanity hasn't even reached the edges of our solar system yet. I believe they have only come as far as the belt. But it tries to be realistic. It tries to portray itself as very realistic, which lends it, first of all, a very particular aesthetic. And also the stories and the challenges that the characters face and the narrative. It's not just like, for example, as I mentioned before in Star Wars, where it kind of feels like anything can happen at any time. But no, the fact that you have an entire setting, a realistic setting, set in outer space, out there in the solar system, where your characters, and this is true for the show, and I'm sure it's going to be true for the game, where your characters have to be sort of an elite in many ways. They have to be good at combat, good at piloting some of them. They have to be very proficient at dealing with all the challenges that present themselves when you live in outer space. Just makes it so much more interesting. Basically, each one of these characters would kind of have to be an outstanding person, an outstanding individual, and at the same time, they come with all the flaws that you would expect humans to have, and at the same time, they are living together in a very enclosed space for prolonged periods of time. So just without adding any of the stuff that happens in the story, which is incredibly interesting, just think how many storylines does that relationship of characters with each other and their environment under so high stress circumstances, how many different storylines those things lend themselves to. So I just think that is extremely interesting. Again, I said Owlcat Games, I think, is the perfect company to bring this world to life. And one of the reasons that I say that is, well, I have only played one game from them, which is Rogue Trader. And it is such a good game. And they did such a good job with that game. I would argue, narratively, it is better than many of the Black Library novels that are coming out. I think they took the world way more seriously. They researched the world way deeper than some of the authors in Black Library as of late tend to do. I have ranted about this before, but in today's Warhammer, depending on which author you're reading, it almost seems like some of them hate the setting and are just writing to like bring their own activism to the setting. Unfortunately, that's the case. Whereas in the Expanse, I haven't read the books, mind you. I fully plan on reading the books before this game comes out. And yeah, I fully trust Owlcat Games to have deeply researched the world that this takes place in, and just the world of sci-fi and space realism. As I said, in Rogue Trader, they truly showed how much fidelity they can keep to the universe that they're exploring in their games. And the fact that to them this seems, I thought I heard in an interview somewhere with one of the developers that this was their passion project, that they wanted to create something like Baldur's Gate 3, but specifically in the universe of the Expanse. When a developer is the one going after the game they want to make, that just means the game, even if it's good or bad or whatever it is, you just have to respect it out of it being a product of love. Like some of us are. Not me, but some of us. And mind you, they went as far as to hire an actual astronaut to help them in the making of this video game.
Owlcat Games asked me to help them to create what it's like to live and work in space. And then it's really a challenge to take that experience and make it into a realistic game, and that's where their team stepped in.
Another thing I want to comment on, the world of the Expanse has so much role-playing potential because it is such a rich world. Let me just talk to you a bit about the world of the Expanse, okay? There's basically 3 factions, right? You have your Terrans, your Earthers, people in planet Earth, basically. And then you have your Martians, people that live in Mars. And then you have your Belters, people who work in the belt, in the asteroid belt, who live and work. Each faction, each culture has developed their very own language, sometimes even. You know, the Belters have their own language, has developed their own culture, obviously, as I mentioned, but also their anatomy has changed, right? The Belters, they have such a different anatomy than the Earthers, so much so that the atmosphere on Earth crushes them. For them, it is a torture just to be on Earth's atmosphere because there's nothing that they can find there out in outer space that comes close to even the gravity that they will feel on Earth, right? And something very interesting about the Martians is the Martians are sort of like the most technologically advanced. They are a very martial culture. They have the strongest army, the strongest soldiers, the strongest navy, the most badass Martian marines. And they're also physically weaker than the people from Earth, right? Now, Earth has a lot going for them. They're maybe not as technologically advanced as the Martians, but they have a massive population, which sometimes works in their advantage and sometimes works against them. And then the Belters are like the Hispanics of space. Yeah, maybe we are poorer than other people. Yeah, maybe we don't dress as good, but we can dance and we can make great food. Sure, maybe some of us have lived in the slums and there's a lot of crime and stuff going on there. And people only go where we live when they're out on vacation and they go to a very specific wall-protected resort or on a business trip, and then they just don't go into the alleyways and and the different streets outside of their reservation because they're gonna get murked. But the food is great. The people are kind, I would argue. The Belters are like kind of the most human out there, and they're not Hispanic, right? Obviously, that's just a stupid joke I made. But they just have a lot of flavor to their culture. Again, they have developed their own language. It is just very, very interesting. Just this world is so rich in regards to the fantasies that you can play. Even though it being so grounded, there is a lot of role-playing potential. And apparently you're going to be able to make your own character who's going to be the captain of the ship. And your crew members, you're going to have crew members from all corners of the solar system, from the belt, from Earth, and from Mars as well. I don't know, this is one of those universes that sort of made me apolitical, I think. People are going to be fighting for resources and for politics almost wherever they are. And, when resources are running low, when the oxygen on a ship is running low, ideals are going to take a back seat. And more likely than not, carnage and tough decisions will follow, unfortunately.
We hope that our approach to blending realism with gameplay considerations will make players experience something engaging and truly immersive.
I mean, also look at the visuals. That looks amazing. I'm gonna have such a hard time playing these games sober. I'm gonna try, but it's gonna be so hard.
Ground control to Private J. Says you daydreaming again? I am. See, so we just need to shoot a few more unlucky bastards and done.
So I think that the Expanse, first of all, I think it's gonna be a huge, massive game. But also I think that it is gonna have a very enhanced sense of exploration just because of how realistic that exploration has to be. And don't get me wrong, at least it doesn't look like it's gonna be just like a survival RPG, right? Because that would go in an other direction. This is still sci-fi. This isn't just survival in outer space where you have to do everything. It's not a simulation. It's not a outer space astronaut simulator, right? There is a lot going on in this world, and there are very interesting things that I wanna touch on later on this video. And the reason I'm making this video so long is because I wanna wait until all the younger people in the audience leave the video. So I'm testing your attention span because some of us old-timers still have a pre-TikTok short video or short reel, whatever they're called now, attention span. You can hang in there and I will let you know something very interesting that only old people can hear about this game at the end of the video. But I won't say when, because I don't want kids skipping ahead. But anyways, the universe of the Expanse, there's a lot that goes on that is not like very scientifically grounded, but I guess you could argue it's plausible, it's possible. But the in-universe, the politics are so volatile in some sense. Like, yeah, people are still, these societies, these different nations and cultures, they're still interacting with each other to an extent. Some of them are like very friendly with each other depending on the situation, but there is also a lot of tension, a lot of political tension, and for very many reasons, and all sides have their own reasons, and all sides have things where they are right, and all sides have their extremists, that they are crazy people and they are very, very wrong and they do horrible things, just like in the real life. Certain things, happen eventually, but it's like adding fuel to the fire. When humanity comes across something that they don't understand, something that they haven't come across before, and something that literally blows their mind and surpasses their ability to even begin to understand the true mysteries that lie beyond the stars in the infinite darkness of the cosmos. Well, that sounds terrifying, right? And it is made even more so because this happens in such a volatile political climate. Again, solar system wide. But I also want to touch on combat, because combat is going to have a Mass Effect-like mix, I believe, of third-person real-time combat, where it's not like turns like we did in previous Owlcat games. But yeah, combat is going to be very interesting because combat in the universe of the Expanse, again, is extremely brutal. Combat in space is crazy dangerous. Anything in space is dangerous. Playing ping pong in space might be incredibly dangerous, right? One of the things that just I never thought of and impacted me the most about combat in the Expanse, again, is how realistic it is. Little things that you never think about, like for example, if you get shot in the hand in zero gravity, yeah, you're dead. You're gone. Why? Because your blood will keep flowing out of your body because there's no gravity. It won't clot and you will bleed out. Sorry, I have to bleep myself so the algorithm does not punish me. It's crazy now how we have to like self-censor because machine might censor our speak. Why do I even bother playing sci-fi games and reading sci-fi books? I'm already living in a sci-fi dystopia. Anyways, that is just one of very many examples of how dangerous and how critical every decision that you make in zero gravity is. So yeah, combat has such an amazing potential in this game. And Owlcat Games has done such an amazing job of making combat feel interesting in the past that I fully trust them to knock it out of the park with this one.
Zafar.
Yes,
Pull up nav tech.
there is makeup in space, and yes, characters are allowed to be attractive in the world of the Expanse.
We gonna find out about your Kopang right quick, okay?
Just want to do him justice. Stuck his neck out for us. Least we can do is get him out alive.
Now, this is another thing I wanted to talk about. Space combat itself. It looks so weird, and it is so chaotic, but that is actually how people theorize, scientists theorize that combat would look in space with the technology, like the closest that we can think of technology. Ships wouldn't just stand there and shoot at each other like maritime sea-to-sea combat, right? They would probably start spinning and just firing every single gun that they can at the same time, like self-propelled system of motion, which I just find very interesting.
Let's deal with those guys first.
Now, grenades in zero gravity have to behave very differently, right? They have to be very specific grenades.
Zafar, you were right. They shut down this.
Now, this is what I was saying about combat being so dangerous and so stressful. That shot that she just got in the arm is a death wound, unless she gets a death wound, unless she gets like medical assistance right away, right? This game is gonna be so amazing. Now that's some Tech Marine servo gun that I don't recall seeing in the show, but maybe it's in the books. That would be awesome. This is gonna be so good. I'm gonna play the hell out of this game, and I'm gonna stream it too. I hope by the time this game comes out, I'm finally able to stream games more often. This is gonna be so fun. Just look at the combat. Look how cool it looks. Yeah, zero gravity. I'm all for it. Okay. So yeah, this video I got it from the channel Wild Gamer SK. I don't know if I think they just made a recompilation of the all those interviews and gameplay and so on. But it was a great video, so I appreciate it, and I totally just pirated all of it. But there's a shout out. Sorry. So yeah, that thing that we saw at the end there that's going on. I don't want to reveal too much into it because obviously it's not necessarily a spoiler for the game, but certainly for the books and the show, I'm sure. So yeah, I want people to find this stuff out for themselves, but I probably shouldn't even say anything. I just hope you find this intriguing enough that you're willing to watch the show at the very least. You just need to watch the first season. Actually, just watch the first episode, and I'm sure that you will be hooked on for the rest of it. Now, if you allow me, just before I reach the end of this video, I want to reveal one of the reasons that I am most excited for this game. And I hope that all the younger audience have now gone on to shorter form content. In the universe of The Expanse, there is something that I have been obsessed with ever since I came across it. Later down the road, I found some inklings of this same theme in the book, hard sci-fi book, mind you, Rendezvous with Rama. But The Expanse just does it way more, obviously graphically, right? Because it's a show. I haven't read the books, and that is how I'm gonna end this video, this last reveal, or one of the main reasons that I'm excited for this game. Sex in space.